Okay, Bishop. Now, I'll read that later. A radical guy that I love to listen to. What am I going to read? There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw a vision evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming to him and saying to him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God. And now send men for a memorial before God. Thy prayers and thy alms come up for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner. And all right, it says, and now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner. So is this two Simons? Thy prayer of thine alms are come up for a memorial to God. And now send men to Joppa and call for Simon. One is italics, I mean it wasn't there. Maybe they knew there was two of them. And now send men to Joppa and call for Simon, whose surname is Peter. So we're really looking for Peter. He lodges. So he stays with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when they had declared all these things unto him, he sent them to Joppa. All right. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh to the city, Peter went up into the house top to pray about the 6th hour. The 6th hour in that time. And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descended unto him. And it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I've never eaten anything that is common or unclean. Oh, now, Peter was a do-gooder. I should pause right here in this little thing and just keep talking. I want to vent, buddy. Woo. And if it's you, it's not about you. And if you think it's you, it's not about you. Because it's about so many things. I can mean about 4 or 5 major things right here. Major things. Major things. Political things, regional things, legal things, things dealing with having to do work and email. But it's not just you. Don't think I'm just talking to you. If you're here and you might be watching. It's multiple things. It's actual multiple things. Man, it's like when you try to fight for your right, do what's right, and then you see these other people not doing the right thing, man. Anyway, and he saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descended into him, and it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth. I gotta hurry up. Wherein all the manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And then there came a voice, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter said, No, Lord, I've never eaten an unclean thing. He's a do-gooder, what. And the voice spake, and it feels like a calling to him. It feels like a calling to me. A do-gooder thing. It's a do-gooder thing. At what point does a do-gooder stomp on your brother? But Peter said, no, not so. I've never eaten anything that's common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again, the second time, what God hath cleansed, what God hath cleansed, call not thou common. This was done thrice. I like the word thrice. People don't like this old English. I love that. Anyway, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Oh, I should pause it, because there was something that was unclean. There was actually a whole bunch of people that said it was unclean. I mean, Hosea said it. Oh man, there's a lot of books out there. Paul said it. Now, this was done thrice, and a vessel was received up again. Now when Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, he doubted what this vision had seen should mean. He kept reading though, because I'm going to keep reading. Behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing. For I have sent them. I'm going to add, saith the Lord, because that's kind of what it says right here in the Word. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius. Am I right? Yeah. Because while Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek ye thee. The Spirit said, so yeah, it's good. Arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius. And you know Cornelius, I should pause right here and go back up, because it's done said way up here that Cornelius, there was a certain man from Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called Italian, a devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. And he saw a vision evidently about the 9th hour, day, and the angel coming into him, saying to him, Cornelius. And when he looked, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms come for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa, and call for Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodges with Simon by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake to Cornelius was departed. So Cornelius was following the angel's orders, and went down there and said, But Peter said, and he said, Now when Peter doubted himself with the vision, see it should mean, behold, there come which was sent from Cornelius, had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and said, and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter. So Peter came up, so Cornelius done what the Spirit said. The Spirit said unto him, Behold, these 3 men seek thee, because Cornelius seen him. So the same Spirit was talking to Peter. Arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I've sent them. Oh, and Peter trusted too. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. What the cause wherefore ye are come? So Peter went straight out there and said, Hey, yeah, I'm here. And they say, Cornelius, the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth God, and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from God by a holy angel to send for thee into his house. Because he couldn't really fucking understand what was going on. That's kind of what this thing is. So he's like, hey, I'll send you somebody else. Who? So he's like thinking, well, who might know more than me? Who might maybe know something else? Or maybe, no, I ain't going to actually agree with everything, but I want to hear what somebody else has got some first-hand experience might say. Then the holy angel to them for thee and to his house, and to hear words of thee. And he wanted to hear your words, Peter. Then called he them in and lodged them. And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him. So Cornelius actually met Peter, because Peter came on with him, and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, motherfucker. I myself and no man. Don't be fucking doing that shit to me, man. No, man, I ain't even fucking playing that, and we're going to throw some four-letter words and make you fucking flinch real fucking fast, let you know goddamn well that there's nobody right here that's going to pass judgment and goddamn condemnation on nothing. We're here to liberty, and it ain't looking at me. Maybe cracking a phone, but you ain't looking at me. This is liberty. So Peter did say, stand up. I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, ye know how. All right, who is this he and thee ye? Right now, who? But Peter took him up, saying, stand up. I myself am a man. And as he talked, the last person would be Peter with him, he went in and found, Cornelius went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, I actually at this moment right now, I don't know if it's Cornelius or Peter said this. Maybe we need to figure this out. Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company, or come into one of another nation. I'm thinking maybe Peter said this. But is it Cornelius that said this? Because if you go back up here, there was a certain Cornelius, a certain of the devout man, or Italian band of devout man, who feared God in all his house. Much alms to the people, and he prayed to God always. He saw a vision about the 9th hour. So he already's doing all this other stuff. What makes you think Cornelius ain't saying this? And won't know what Peter thinks about it. Cornelius think, hey man, should I not hang about these other people's eating pigs out here? They barbecuing. Man, they're raising pigs and barbecuing out in their front yard, backyard, at night, having a bonfire. They're barbecuing their pet pigs. Then Peter went down to the men and called and asked, now while Peter doubted in himself, now what I'm getting to say, who said what? That's very interesting. And Cornelius said, where am I at? Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company, or come into one of another nation. But God hath showed me that I shall not call any man common or unclean. I want to pause it right here, because that's what they just said. Hey man, whether Peter's saying it or Cornelius saying it, they're both agreeing on it. And he's agreeing, but I'm about to find out what's coming on later, because I'm going to read on to like a few more verses. Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying, as soon as I was sent for. Oh, so Peter's saying this. Maybe, yeah. I ask therefore for what intent ye have sent for me. And Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house. And behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, thy prayer is heard, and thine alms are had in remembrance in the sight of God. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon, a tanner by the seaside. So there might be another Simon, maybe his daddy. Oh no. because the one Simon is italicized. Makes you think they already know. It's a puzzling thing. Who? When he cometh, but it's repeating this whole story again, way down in verse 30. That was way up at the top. It's like, man, he's saying this twice. And he's repeating it again. Immediately, therefore, I sent for thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Because they were both listening to a similar spirit or something, or trusting one another. Now, therefore, are we all here present before God, to hear all things that are commanded thee of God. There's some crazy words right here. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons. But in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. The word of God is sent to the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ. He is the Lord of all. That word I say now, no, which was published without all through Judea, and began from Galilee, after the baptism which John preached, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went out about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. And we are the witnesses of all things which he did, both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. Him God raised up the third day and showed him openly, not to all his people, but unto a witness chosen before God, even to us, who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. And he commanded us to preach to the people and to testify, which ordained of God to be judged, quick of the dead. To him give all the prophets witness, that through his name whosoever believeth in him shall receive remissions of sins. And I could keep reading. But then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons.